Okay, good morning. Today we're going to learn something new. Okay, but before we do that, let's go over a couple things here. You guys remember standard form? Okay, if I have an equation, a quadratic equation, and it's in the form of f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That is in standard form. Okay. For example, if I have something like f of x equals x squared plus 3x plus 4, okay, that's in standard form. And what do you do once it's in standard form? Well, you got to find a, b, and c, right? So a in this problem is a 1, right? There's a 1 right here. And b in this problem is a 3, and c is a 4, right? And once you find a, b, and c, then you have to use a formula. And the formula is x equals negative b over 2a. So you take these numbers, you plug them into the formula. I came out with a fraction of negative 3 over 2. So that is my x value. Now it's also your line of symmetry, right? Now to get your y value of your vertex, what you have to do is you have to take this value right here that you found, plug it back into the original equation, plug it back in here, and then that will get you your y value of your vertex, okay? And I know that seems kind of complicated, but you've learned this before, okay? I've taught you that on previous videos. So once you have the vertex, you plot the vertex, then you got to find 2 points either to the right or 2 points to the left, and then copy them onto the other side of the line of symmetry, and then you can draw your parabola, okay? The next thing we learned, which was last week, we learned vertex form. Vertex form, okay, is something like this. It's f of x equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k, right? And I like this form, vertex form, because it's easy to find the vertex. The vertex is h and k. So whatever h is, okay, remember the minus sign is part of the problem or part of the formula. So we think, take the opposite of what you see here, whatever you see here, and then keep this one the same. So for example, if I gave you a problem like this, negative 2 times the quantity x minus 3 squared plus 4. To find my vertex, just take the opposite of this right here, to opposite of what you see right there, because the minus sign is part of the formula. So I see a 3 right there, right? So 3, 4 is my vertex, right? 3, 4 is my vertex. Now, another thing I know is this right here, this is A, right? And if A is negative, okay, then it's a spill. So if I was to graph this, I would graph my vertex first, right? And then I would use a table of values, and I would pick a number like 2, put 2 into the problem here, see what I get as an answer, and then plot that point, right? And then copy it to the other side, and then draw it in. And I know it's going to be a spill because A is negative 2, right? Next, okay, by the way, these are all review. It's all review there. So next, what we're going to do next is I am going to teach something new, all right? And what it is, it's called intercept form. Intercept form looks like this, okay? It's f of x equals a times the quantity x minus p and x minus q, okay? Now this is called intercept form, and the reason why it's called intercept form is because p and q are the x-intercepts, okay? P and Q are the x-intercepts. So these are my two x-intercepts. And remember that the minus sign is part of the formula. A, just like up here, okay, and up here, tells me if it's a fill or spill, okay, and it tells me the stretch or the shrink. Remember, this is the SSR, stretch, shrink, or reflect. Okay, if this is minus, then if it's a negative, if A is a negative, it's a spill. If it's a positive, it's a fill. And it stretches or shrinks. Okay, so if, that's my dog, Landon. So when you stretch, that means it's going to get thinner, okay? It's going to get thinner. A shrink means it's actually going to get wider. So if this number right here is a number like 8, that means it's going to be kind of wide or fat. If this number right here is like 0.5, then it's going to be a stretch. It means it's going to be very narrow, okay? So let's take a look at what I have here. I'm going to start over here. I'll just start over. I'll put this new paper up here, and let's take a look at this, okay? And this is called intercept form, right? New lesson today, intercept form. And let's say I gave you a problem like this, f of x, and remember that f of x is like y. And then it says x minus 1 and x plus 3, right? Okay, that's my problem, right? So what is a right here? What's a equal to? Well, in this case, there isn't anything there, so that means it's a is equal to 1, right? Now, my x-intercepts are right here and right here. But you got to be careful because the minus sign is part of the formula, right? So basically, this is like a 1, okay? So my intercept's a 1. And then to get a plus, remember to have a minus sign that's part of the formula. So it would be like minus minus, okay? So my other intercept is negative 3. Now, a lot of kids get confused. So sometimes I just tell them, whatever number you see here, just write the opposite. So this says negative 1, I write 1. This says positive 3, so I write negative 3. Okay? So those are my intercepts. Okay, don't get confused. It's not your vertex, it's your intercepts. Okay? So I have my intercepts. And intercepts, they're x-intercepts. It's going to be like 1 over here and 1 over here, right? Those are your intercepts. Now, I don't know where my vertex is. I got to find my vertex. So in order to find the vertex, there's a pretty easy way to do this. I told you, this is kind of the easiest form to graph from. What we got to do is, you see these 2 points right here? We got to find the middle of those 2 points. And how do you find the middle of those 2 points? Basically what we do, just like you find the middle of anything, you add them up and divide it by 2. So x equals 1 plus negative 3, right, divided by 2. When I add the 2 top numbers, I get negative 2, and the bottom number is a 2. When I divide that, that gives me negative 1. So x equals negative 1. That's my x value of my vertex. Okay? Now to get the y value, you take this here and plug it back into the problem wherever you see an x. I'm going to change this f of x to a y. Okay? And then I'm going to write this over here. Okay? And now instead of putting an x here, I'm going to put a negative 1. Because we found that x is negative 1. So negative 1, okay, minus 1 times negative 1 plus 3. All I did was I took this number and I plugged it in wherever I saw an x, right? So when I add these two up together, you go changey, changey, right? That's negative 2. Add these together, that's 2. So when I multiply these together, I get negative 4, right? So my vertex is negative 1 and negative 4, right? Negative 1, negative 4. Now, what's my line of symmetry? Well, my line of symmetry, or my axis of symmetry, okay, it's always this number right here. It's always the x value in the vertex. So my line of symmetry, okay, is x equals negative 1. All right? Now, what's the next thing we do? Well, the next thing we do is we graph these things, okay? So if I graph this, let me see if I can pull this up so you guys can still see. And we can see my little board here. If I graph this, my vertex is negative 1, negative 4. So I go left 1, down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put a point there, right? Now, the next thing I graph is I graph my y-intercepts. What were my y-intercepts in this problem? My y-intercepts, okay, if we look back at our notes, our y-intercepts were right here. They were 1 and negative 3. So 1 is right there. Negative 3 is right there, right? And you see those 3 dots? If you connect them, that's your parabola, okay? So let's label some of these items here. My vertex, we decided, okay, was negative 1, negative 4, right? This is my x-intercept. It's at negative 1, 0. This is my other x-intercept. That's at negative 3, 0, right? And what else do we know? Let's figure out the domain. The domain in this problem, okay, what numbers can you put in for the x's? All the way to the right, all the way to the left? I can put in any number, okay? How about the range? What can I put in for the range? Well, this right here, this point right here, that is a minimum, right? And what's the lowest that it goes? The lowest that it goes is negative 4. So your y value has to be above negative 4. So y has to be greater than or equal to negative 4. All right? That's basically how you do these problems. Now, let's do one a little quicker. Okay? Let me erase this. Do one a little quicker. And at the same time, I want to show you this right here. Okay? These are the steps on how to graph a parabola that's in intercept form. So let me give you another one. We'll go pretty quick on this one. F of x equals the opposite of, or a negative sign. It's like saying the opposite of, x plus 1 and x minus 5. Right? Okay. So a is a negative 1 right here, right? A is a negative 1, which means it's going to be a spill, right? What are my x-intercepts? My x-intercepts are, look at this number right here, take the opposite of that, it would be like negative 1, and what's the opposite of negative 5? 5. Those are my x-intercepts. Now, to get the line of symmetry, you take these two numbers, you add them up. That's to get the x value. Take these two numbers, add them up, divide by 2. So when I do that, that's going to give me 4 over 2. 4 over 2 is 2. So my x value of my vertex is 2. Now to get your y value, just take this number, plug it back in here and here, right? And change that to a y. So there's a minus sign there in front. I'm going to put a 2 right here. I'm going to put a 2 right there. And we're going to figure this out, okay? 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Then I have a minus sign in front. Okay, so when I multiply this all together, multiply these first, I get negative 9, and there's a sign in front. Negative 9 times negative 1 is going to give me positive 9. So my vertex is 2, 9, right? So I have 3 points. I have my x-intercepts. Oops. X-intercepts. They're right here. Negative 1 and 5. And then I have my vertex. So basically this is 2 points. And this is 1 point. So basically I have 3 points here. If I've got 3 points, I can graph this pretty easily. All right? Let's see how we graph this. So what I want to do is I want to go 2 to the right, 9 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put a point. Then I'm going to graph these two y-intercepts, or excuse me, x-intercepts. X-intercepts. These are x-intercepts. Negative 1's there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Goes right there. You see these 3 points? Connect them. Boom. There is your spill, right? Your parabola that's a spill. My domain, all reals. My range, this is 9 up here. So all the numbers have to be, it's going downward, they have to be, y has to be less than or equal to 9. Okay? And that's basically it. So I'll give you some homework problems and you guys can check that out. Have a good day.